Guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend.
What's up, my brothers? Few things have changed since I've been gone. Got a new black guy, that's pretty cool. Too bad he kinda sucks. We also got another muscle mummy. Calling it now, She-Hulk isn't too far in the future. Rule 34 artists are lying in wait like your girlfriend's gay best friend. Anyway, it's been a while, so just in case you're new here, whenever rent money gets low, I round up a few Marvel characters who I think would be cool to see in Marvel Rivals. As always, I try to do a healthy blend of characters who are a bit more niche as well as popular choices too. That being said, I've done a load of these videos by now, so if you don't see a pick, go check those out. It's likely in one of the other videos. In honor of the newest tank, let's kick off with one I've had in the tank for a while. Graviton. Gravity powers have always been some of the coolest in the world, and it's such a simple power set but it's so complex at the same time. Plus we need more villains, so Graviton's my vote. Anyway, for his passive, I think any enemies within a certain radius around him should be slowed and fall much faster. So any pesky flyers or slow fallers won't be able to get away so easy. It makes sense for his primary to be an auto-aim low damage attack. He can give people their own gravitational pull, so there's no reason why he couldn't just chuck rocks at you. Plus, most of the tanks have pretty easy to hit shots, so it's not like it's crazy different. To give him some CC capability, I'm also considering a melee combo which pushes the enemy away, then pulls them back, then away again. This makes it a lot harder for characters to hit their shots, but also means you can push melee characters away from you. Ability 1. He sends out a cone of dense gravity in front of him, slowing any enemies caught in it significantly and instantly grounding them. Maybe also a small damage over time the longer they stay in the area of effect. It can also crush structures if they're breakable. Ability 2. Similar to Orissa's old ability from Overwatch, where he shoots a projectile and it pulls everybody into the center. Lastly, as a secondary fire, he has a defensive version of Doctor Strange's dark magic. The more damage he takes, the more the meter fills up to a max of 100. He can release the seismic energy to do a chunk of damage around him. This means his ideal game plan is to be frontline, slowing down would-be dive tanks like Hulk, Thing or Angela. If they do manage to get past him, group up all the squishies together using his Graviton pull, then put the weight of the world on their shoulders so they can't follow up the momentum. I don't think I've mentioned that I also want him to have the biggest health pool in the game as well. It makes sense given his powers make him pretty much immune to physical damage, but also means he can still be an effective tank without having the shields or movement options to compensate. And of course, the ultimate, Atlas. All enemies within a range around him are completely halted in their tracks, and anybody who enters the range during its duration is also stopped. They're also completely grounded. It does minor damage over time, but the main benefit is it just lets your team clean house. It sounds simple, but the thought of him just rising into the air while everybody else falls to their knees is really cool. If it's too broken, we can make it shorter length, but give him bonus health afterwards to balance it out. Team up wise, it feels straight wrong not to give Magneto a dap. I don't think it needs to be anything complicated, just reduce the cooldown on Mag's bubble or his shield. Anyway, that's enough training at 300 times Earth's gravity. Our next character will be a hated choice for sure. Mole Man, who will basically be what Jeff used to be, a putrid, rat-faced war criminal, or in game dev speak, a flanking sniper. His passive will be that whenever he lands a shot, he can track the footsteps of any enemy for a few moments, with the Moloids feeding the info back to him. Primary fire will be a simple energy beam from his staff, medium damage, hit scan, slow fire rate. Ability 1 is exactly what you think. He digs into the ground and can move around exactly like Jeff. The only difference is when he comes out of the ground, he does a small burst of area of effect damage. Ability 2 is he fires a tracker at you, which lets off seismic vibrations. On the third vibration, a Moloid grabs you by the feet and traps you in place for a second. This lets Mole Man basically get off a free headshot. If you use a move that makes you intangible, like Scarlet Witch or Cloak and Dagger's escape option, the tracker can fall off. So, his ideal combo is to flank, trap, headshot, then chase down. I think to balance this, making him relatively slow when he's above ground, meaning he's vulnerable when he's attacking, or giving his burrow a small cooldown will make him a tad less annoying, because he is definitely going to be annoying. Speaking of, his ultimate. He calls upon his moloids to open a bunch of small craters in the map. If you fall in them, it's just like falling off the map, instant death. However, your team can fall in them too, and you can save yourself with most movement abilities. Look, if we're gonna have Jeff's dumb f***ing idiot fish face able to do all this, then let's at least make a DPS version of it, and let's justify hating him by making him look butt ugly. That being said, they should have a team up. When Jeff goes into the ground, he gets a small amount of bonus health, and when Mole Man is in the ground, he heals over time. Putting them on a team together immediately puts you on a watch list, and if you ever get matched against me, I will swat your granddad. Okay, time to clutch up a support. Just a note, as I mentioned in the last video I did for this, it is starting to feel more and more of a reach to put characters in the support class. I considered Silk because of her superior Spidey sense, Rescue because it, female Iron Man, even Madam Web because I guess hag lovers deserve some art too, but I landed on Heimdall, and I'm very happy with him. He will be almost entirely a recon/scout character, leaning into his superior senses and role as the sentry of Asgard. His passive will allow him to sense anybody within range and ping them through walls, but only he can actually see them. Primary is just sword swings. I don't like the idea of making them heal allies because it just doesn't make sense, but I guess if we have to just to make him a bit more useful, fine. His first ability widens the passive range to the whole map, so for a brief moment he can see where everybody on the enemy team is. His second ability is a warning cry. He raises his sword in the air, calling blue flames upon it. During this time, his sword swings shoot out blue slashes to give some range. They heal allies they pass through and obviously hurt enemies. It also creates a ring around him which gives any allies within it damage reduction. His final ability will be a lunging stab that lets him stun an enemy for a moment. It also reduces the cooldown for his second ability, which will be quite long otherwise. It won't do much damage, but will be incredible for shutting down ultimates that you see coming with your abilities. Gameplay wise, I imagine he'd be a much less annoying Sombra, fused with a much less annoying Bridget. Finally, for his ultimate, most of his abilities are all defensive and counter based, so to give him some playmaking ability, I think he should be able to rally a charge by raising his sword and making all enemies within range unable to use their ult for a brief period. Using this prior to a team fight means pesky Lunar Snows or Cloak and Daggers have to focus on outliving your ultimate or getting out of range. It won't last long though, maybe only 5 seconds. Having a team up with Thor, Angela and Loki where he just gives them access to his passive is incredibly useful and makes him a lot more viable, especially for Loki who is always having to fend off divers. I imagine Heimdall will be the kind of character who's terrible at lower ranks and absolutely despicably broken at higher ranks, which is the kind of stuff I love to see. Now back to the most undeniably based class. Vanguard, baby. I'll level with you, there is almost no hope we get this guy, and even if we do, he probably isn't going to be anything like this, but these videos are what ifs for a reason. The Mandarin would be such a hectic pick, and let me explain why. Obviously he has his rings, each of which do something different, so for his passive, I say he can switch between left and right hand. He can't use both at the same time. His right hand is more defensive. He can create shields with the Remaker ring, fire low damage beams that do knockback with the Impact ring, propel enemies with the Vortex ring, blind enemies with the Nightbringer ring, and do one big damage short range blast with the Spectral ring. His left hand is more offensive, firing beams of fire with the Flame Blast ring, stunning enemies with the Lyre ring, a lightning chain attack with the Electroblast ring, a high damage Icicle throw with the Zero ring, and again blinding enemies with the White Light ring. Sounds complicated, and it is, but the main catch is that the rings share cooldowns, so if he uses the Vortex ring, he can't instantly switch and use the Electroblast ring for example. If we want to balance it, we can also lower his health when he switches hands, so that he can't just carelessly switch into his damaging hand, especially if he's in the front line. I think I need to make some kind of peace treaty with the Fing Fang Foom fans, because I have no idea how to build him, so he's probably never going to be in one of these videos. However, for Mandarin's ultimate, he can summon the Dragon of Heaven, which is basically a robot version, so that will have to do for now. It's a massive dragon-shaped airship that just rains a bunch of artillery below. Or maybe it can fly through the battlefield, knocking back and doing heavy damage to anybody in a straight line. I'm cool with either. Finally, team-ups. It has to be Iron Man. I've got two possibilities. Either Mandarin uses his electrical beams to charge up Iron Man, making his fuel fill up faster, or he can cast a projection of Iron Man with very low health, so whenever Iron Man is flying around, the enemies aren't sure which one to shoot at initially. And considering nobody ever f***ing shoots Iron Man on my team anyway, this would be incredibly useful. Anyway, like I said, this will never ever be added, which is a good thing. But man, it would be kind of funny. Alright, let's get the last support out of the way. Admittedly, this one's actually really cool and makes a lot more sense than I initially thought. Cable. Cable was a lot more of a beast than I realized, and is also one of the few Marvel heroes who can canonically heal others. So yeah, 100% going to be a support. And he's going to be a gruff, war-torn, overly edgy support to break away from the usual twinks, cute animals, and girls that aren't even as heavy as one of the Thing's testicles. His passive can either be self-heal or making any allies within range have much shorter reload times, since he's got that whole transmutation and rebuilding thing going on. Personally, I think the reload thing is more creative, but I'm not sure how useful it is. Not many of the cast have massive reload times from what I can think of. Primary is his standard rifle, similar to Rocket's primary. His secondary will be an auto-aim beam that functions like Mercy's heal. It can also give up to 2 allies bonus health. Ability 1 is a psionic force field. It functions similar to Doctor Strange in that it's a large shield that has health, but he can't fire or heal while holding it up, which means he can sub in for a temporary tank if he needs to, but lowers the team's overall healing. Ability 2 is time manipulation. He can slow down enemies, their full speed, movement speed, reloading, cooldowns, everything is slowed. However, it has a long cooldown and only lasts for a couple of seconds. He can do the opposite for allies too, speeding everything up. For the ultimate, I think we give him what Ultron's ultimate should have been. For a moment, he lets the cybernetics overtake his body, turning him into a more offensive sort of tank. The longer he stays in this form, the more cybernetic he becomes, getting more health and doing more damage. However, if he stays in it for too long, he'll die. He can end the ult manually to reset himself back to normal using his time manipulation. During the ultimate, his primary does more damage, he moves faster, has a ton of health, and gives allies bonus health gradually while he stays in this form. And finally, the team up. Has to be Phoenix. I know it's not technically his mum, but his mum is a clone of Jean, so whatever, the voice lines will be funny. Anyway, Phoenix can imbue Cable's shield with fire energy, meaning any enemies who touch it take burning damage over time. And our last character of the day, Hitmonkey. I'll level with you. Before doing this video series, I had no idea who the fuck Hitmonkey was. But of all of the characters I have yet to do, Hitmonkey is probably the most requested. You guys really love this monkey. But the tricky part is he's just a monkey. He's got no powers. So I need to get a little bit weird. Which is fine, because this is a f***ing monkey. Anyway, passive is that his maneuverability is like a mix of Iron Fist and Spider-Man. He can double jump, wall run, jump between walls, jump off enemies, allies, etc. He can also reload with his tail or his free foot while he's doing any of this. Primary fire is triple pistols. He fires one with his foot and the other with his hands. Ability 1, I'm going to borrow an idea from my Dante build, which was in the guest edition video I did. Hitmonkey has a flip, similar to Star-Lord, which makes him immune to damage. However, if he fires during the flip, it auto-locks onto the last enemy he did damage to. Ability 2 is going to basically be the jockey from Left 4 Dead 2. He can jump onto an enemy and control their movement for a limited amount of time. The enemy has limited control to fight against it, but it lengthens the amount of time Hitmonkey's attached if they do. He's also clawing at you and beating the snot out of you the whole time. This will do 50 damage or 75 if you extend the time by fighting it. Hitmonkey can be damaged by other players during the grab, and the person who's grabbed can still fire, but not a Hitmonkey. This means the ideal combo is to flank using your movement, hit a shot or two on the squishy, pull them away from their team, and finish them off using your lock-on flips. Now for his ultimate. Hitmonkey is a stupid idea. It's canon that people don't often believe he's real because it's so ridiculous. So, let's lean into that by making him throw a bunch of bananas on the ground. If an enemy steps on one, they trip. Think of it like a CC minefield. Team-ups are kinda tough. Maybe Punisher, since they're the only ones on the roster who just kill with nothing but guns. He could give Hitmonkey a little sawed-off shotgun that works a lot like Ash from Overwatch. Small damage, but another escape option. Yeah, I like that idea. Thanks for joining me. I took a break from these videos because, to be honest, they dropped in views and I wanted to make some other stuff. I also haven't been playing Rivals as much these days. However, this one was still fun to make, so I think I just needed a little break. I'll happily keep making these if people want them again. Otherwise, let me know what you want to see, and I will see you soon, brother.